What is up, bitches? It is Wednesday night, and it has been a pretty fucking weird day, to be honest with you. I'm DJ Weed, and of course, to back me up on that, we've got the one and only Slasher. And get right to it. This show's going to be an interesting one. There's been a lot of shit going on in esports lately. This includes both the activity, the sport, some of the events going on, upcoming events. And then we have the sort of journalism side of things creeping its head up. And despite the fact that Slasher is probably incredibly busy after the post that we just saw, he takes some time out to join us on Live on 3. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode. Slasher, what's up? What's up, brother? What's up?
Oh, wait. I hear a little bit of echo. Wait.
You do?
Get that off. Okay. I think it's better now.
Okay.
Good stuff. Wasn't around last week. I have been sick pretty badly since MLG Anaheim, which is why I have not been tweeting or updating social media. That has been my main reason for absence on internet, was the plague. I got the plague of great games at MLG Anaheim of Smash, Call of Duty, and StarCraft. Really was awesome, but that has been why I've disappeared. And
it's the worst too, dude. I was scared. I mean, dude, if Slasher doesn't tweet for a couple days, I know that something is wrong. And I was worried. I was a little worried. And then finally Slasher got in touch with me and said, "I'm using the last of my energy to type you this message. Can't do the show." So I'm glad you're better. I'm glad you're better. Do you need a second, Slasher?
Yeah, tell me about your weekend, bro. And let me just
tell me about your weekend so I can mute myself and talk to someone else and not listen to you. That's fine. That's actually
no. Just give me a minute. Just give me a minute, Weed. Okay.
All right. That's fine. That's fine.
All right. Thank you.
Yes, of course. Yeah. I'm sorry. Just conversations this afternoon that I had just are all flashing back, and I find this thing all incredibly hilarious. I had a good weekend, Slasher, since I know you're not listening to me. I got to...
Yes, I am.
Okay, awesome. Come
on.
I got to not only watch a bunch of the ESL one. I'm not sure if you got a chance to watch. I know you're kind of crazy busy and sick, but
the ESL one and ESCA both happened this weekend. I really did not get a chance to watch either at all.
Yeah. Admittedly, I watched far more ESL 1. I was kind of restricted to a few, monitors and streams. And then, Slasher, believe it or not, I played my first game of CSGO. And let me just say, it's
that's good. Good shit.
Yeah. Actually, after the show, I'm going to post it. It's already up, but I'm going to post it. And it's weird, Slasher, because I mean, I've casted a lot of Counter-Strike games. I know a lot about Counter-Strike and how it is played on a professional level. Keep that in mind, how it is played on a professional level. But I've not really shot guns, and I'd never played Go before. So it's like going into a game where I feel like I should know how to play it intimately, but I don't. And I think that I don't know. It was quite fun. It was weird to be I know I need to go here and I need to watch this door. And I know when they're yo, there are double doors at B, I know what they're talking about. It's weird to know that, but not know how to properly pull my gun when I'm firing and stuff like that. So
why do you think it's taken you now to play CSGO and said you played League and Dota and StarCraft, other games beforehand when you came from an FPS thing? Do you think it's because as deathmatch guys, right? This is where we came from, people that played Unreal,
Sure.
Quake, growing up, we hated CS. It took over esports. It was the beginning of the end for deathmatch games when Counter-Strike really got popular. in the early 2000s. I mean, Quake's been dying every year for 14 years. QuakeCon is
Right.
coming up soon. I see Rafa
We'll
and
play
Cypher
Scoots.
and should practice. But
Sasha, I'll tell you. You want to know what partially? You know what it is? It's because this is gonna sound really like kind of weird, and I don't know. Like, you guys judge me, whatever. I don't give a fuck. I think I've been playing a lot of Dota, and again, this is gonna sound weird, but like, I trust Valve, and so like, even though Counter-Strike has never been a go-to game, enough people in sort of like the circles of streamers that I tend to hang out with play Counter-Strike. So it was like natural that one of them would invite me. And in this case, JP invited me to play some Counter-Strike. And knowing that like Ryan and of course Scoots and a lot of people play it. And so I think it's naturally because I just trust Valve. And I'm like, well, I know they've added all the esports stuff. I know they added all the weapon stuff. Like, I know I'll have a good experience if I at least go play. I might not like necessarily playing Counter-Strike, but I'll know that it will be a good experience.
Have you played with Scoots?
I have not played with Scoots yet. In fact, I think Scoots is mad because he's in Rio, and it should have been it should have been Scoots to truly pop my cherry, but we'll figure something out, buddy. So anyway, it's been a blast. I can't wait for people to see. Because it's got to be weird, again, just knowing what to do, but not being able to actually do it, or to have your Quake instincts take over and shit like that. So anyway, it was fun. I had a good weekend. JP's in chat too.
Great.
Yeah. Yep. It should have been me. So what are we doing tonight? Okay, tonight we're talking about. I haven't got the doc. I don't think that Slashers open it up, but some of the things I want to talk about this week, the Hearthstone bans. Well, I shouldn't say Hearthstone bans. The Hearthstone male only stuff that was happening. Recently, there was an interview with Frodan on Team Liquid that I'd like to talk a little bit about. There is the Klauf stuff that is also related, as they have filed for essentially bankruptcy. I think it's called insolvency. I'm not 100% sure, so I should maybe know a little bit more. I want the Dota 2 stuff with both ESL 1, and then also the Fnatic and Era drama, which this is kind of crazy, man. Like, it's a little batty. And then, of course, round that out with some of the recent drama that you might be able to lend some firsthand input on yourself.
Mm-hmm. That sounds about accurate.
Yeah. So are you?
I'm pretty. I mean, we can just talk about me to start off. I kind of want to talk about esports because it's been a week and I'm not important. I rank the show. I always do topics about importance, right? Okay. I rate even my own current breaking news situation of the show that we're on, and that I released.
First off, I find that hard to believe about what's about to come out of your mouth.
No, truly though. I mean, look, ESL 1 was in a stadium. I didn't really get to watch it, but that sounds really fucking cool. I kind of wanted to. That's way more interesting to me though. Right now, I know me is probably more interesting.
Well, you don't think that it has like a bigger impact on sort of esports and journalism as a whole?
I mean, yeah, it does. So if you had not read, I am no longer a part of On Gamers and CBS Interactive and GameSpot. I've been there since February of 2012, so it's been almost 2.5 years now. This is all stemming from, I was notified on Tuesday, as I was still sick through even last Monday, that I had been site-wide banned on Reddit and that On Gamers has been banned for a year on the domain. This is following when On Gamers was banned and then was unbanned in talks with Reddit over the last it was a few months ago. The
Right.
site got unbanned pretty quickly. User accounts took longer to get unbanned, but they did get unbanned. This is after even me going down there and talking to the general manager of Reddit, Eric Martin, a guy who I've known for a long time, even when I was at MLG, and I'm inviting him over to the offices and you know, having them come out to MLGs and such. That was usually me talking to them about esports and trying to get them involved. So I've known those guys for a while, and you know, he's always given me, you know, precautions on like how they want to run things over there and the rules that we should not break. And we had, of course, everything that happened recently about having banned and unbanned due to vote manipulation and the way that submissions work along with the methods of these submissions. Now, I've always said that the vote manipulation is always going to be the very, very worst part. So I was notified that this ban had come into effect because I had messaged users to submit articles on the subreddits. This became evident as a guy that I messaged on RKappa took my message from him and posted it in a thread on RKappa saying that I messaged him, asking him to do this. Now,
which you realize is practically the equivalent of like selling drugs to a little kid. So just so you know that, just so you
like,
you know, just so you know, Slasher, how serious your offenses are. It's practically like you gave a caffeine pill to a fucking middle schooler. Okay, unacceptable. Sorry, I didn't mean to. Keep going.
Yeah. So, I did ask this user to do that. He did post this thread. It was like one of the worst users on RKappa to like ever message. I forget what his username is, but I am just like an idiot on that level. But I asked him to post this. If he would, it was about ESGN and them trying to get money out. This was the article series where Interzone, Mr. Interzone, which is not me, by the way. You guys should have figured out who wrote that. I wrote the original article on ESGN, and then there were follow-up articles on ESGN about what was happening to them. Because the fighting game community was involved there with all the fun they had at their fight night too. I wanted to post into RKappa, but I was not allowed to because I could not submit any links at all from OnGamers for this time. Now, the article got submitted without my help or doing anything into the StarCraft and the Hearthstone subreddits, and I think League 2, because it involved all of them, and they did it that way. But the fighting game guys didn't post it, so I wanted to start the discussion thread over there, because I really was thinking in my head, I'd love to see a Triforce meme things about money and him not getting money from someone, and I thought it'd be funny. But I had to ask another user to post this. This is true. I did do this.
Do you regret?
Yes. I think.
I mean, I guess I'm asking you if you regret doing your job. But you regret breaking the rules of Reddit.
Yes, I regret. I mean, we already had this talk. He was very lenient. He was nice. I mean, Eric, I mean, I have a lot to say regarding like why, and we can go into it, my thoughts on Reddit and kind of like how we ended up in this situation. But considering that we already had this warning happen, I should not have circumvented it this way. We have not broken any of the rules since we talked. There has been no manipulation of votes from anyone except for myself. I do admit that when I asked this user to submit the article, which it did, I did upvote the article. I did.
Okay.
I mean, I did do that. But it was just me. No one else has done this ever. There has been no manipulation from any colleague of mine, anyone that I work with, or there's been no concerted effort to ever all vote for something, especially after we have had that talk. And that has happened since then. So I do not believe that part is involved here from me. It is just me, and that I did message this user, but there has been no vote manipulation from my end.
So can I ask you a couple questions, like coming in from the chat? Or do you want to?
Sure. Well, just to continue to explain, because now that the site is banned for a year, I have put into danger like really good friends of mine and people that I love to work with and really want to try to do this site with, especially Thorn, Travis, and Matt being the three dudes. We all came to senior editor, and then Kim Rom came in, and and we have like a good thing going. So and especially with all my other friends over there now, I don't want to jeopardize their lives and their jobs, and that is what is most important. I have to make sure that those guys have the most and best chance to be okay and to have no worries or issues or have to worry about other things than just their work. So that because of this and the current situation that we are in, this is just how it has to be for the best possible outcome to happen. And I think that is fair here. I mean, at least I admit I'll take the extra year ban from On Gamers and make my ban 2 years if they don't have to have the ban. I mean, I have to make sure that they, as a team, are okay. And Reddit is a large source of traffic, and which is totally,
that was one of the questions.
Much longer conversation, but
yeah, because like there's been discussion that like Reddit makes up 80 to 90% of On Gamers traffic.
I mean,
you're shaking your head no.
No, it's much lower than that. But it is a significant.
Did you say lower or more?
Lower.
Oh, okay.
I mean, 80 and 90% is ridiculous. Come on. I mean, we didn't have a great social media presence, but we have a decent Twitter and like a pretty poor Facebook, okay. I have to admit. But we've done a pretty decent job of getting people to go directly to the site, which is the best metric at all, but beyond the more so than the referral, which is the whole goal. Now, it was pretty high probably for a while. I mean, it's still a good, I'm going to guess, between 40 to 60%, and it's probably gone down over time. But that's still, to me, a very, very large. It like Reddit, it's more so than just the traffic numbers. Like, that is very important, but it is more intertwined in this way. In any case, just because of everything that has happened, I have to step away from my time at CBS, and I can only thank everyone at my team, all the support that GameSpot has had, especially Benito and Eric, who brought me on board along with John Davison back when he was doing things at GameSpot. They brought me on to do esports, and they were one of the only very, very few mainstream gaming sites that ever took a large chance like that to do esports full time. So big thanks to those guys, especially all the events that we did with Benito and Eric. And it's, with all their hard work, I think that's a lot of the reason we have been able to get to On Gamers now. So that's kind of that's the situation for me. So I'm down to answer questions.
All right.
About different Reddit things or just me or whatever. But I would like to talk some esports too, but you can go ahead.
So of course yesterday during Unfiltered there was some discussion about all of this, and Cody Connors had said that there were basically like On Gamers meetings, and this is from L&D TV, saying that their mantra was, quote, "Reddit is our business." Is this accurate? And also, I mean, if it's true, doesn't this, I mean, this does put like still a pretty major impact on things overall, right?
I mean, Cody is not in like, in meetings, the mantra is that way. I wouldn't say that we're all trying to be dicks about it, as more as this is how the obvious way that the current traffic scheme for esports, this is how things are focused right now. the most referral traffic you are going to get for your content in esports is Reddit if you cover the main three PC games, which are League of Legends, Dota, StarCraft, and Counter-Strike. For games like Call of Duty, it's different. It's Twitter because they live on Twitter. That's where their community is. When you do things, that's where things can get viral and spread out of control. Reddit has shown time more than any other site that they can deliver the most discussion. It's great. Like the comment system is amazing. The site, like everything is awesome.
I mean, that's like one of the problems, right? The overall problems that the discussion exists there, and then it doesn't allow you as a website to really be the home for that type of discussion.
Well, I mean, there are sites like Team Liquid, Gosu Gamers, and Join Dota. Those are my three examples here of sites that, you know, they have a user base. They don't rely as much on a referral site like of Reddit or maybe even Google, though they have database things. And Liquid has come a very long way, and they've done a very solid job of coding and infrastructure and everything that they put together.
What was the second one you mentioned?
Gosu Gamers.
Because you're like all three of those are kind of like community.
Yes, they are community-focused sites, and that is a distinct difference here that we have to. I mean, there's a few points here. One, they are community-focused sites, and their focus is on having their forum and their community. But this is the alternative to go to Reddit of the other sites that you go to as your diehard fan instead of Reddit, right? So these are the three that have lived on. But they have been around for 9, maybe 10 years now, and they have infrastructure, and they have a foundation to build on. But I would still say that Reddit is probably their highest incoming traffic referral site as well. Maybe Google would be for Liquid. I could see that. Or even different things for Join Dota or Gosu, depending on different videos or images that you would find. It's possible. But I would bet a whole lot of money that Reddit is still the #1 referral traffic incoming for nearly all of the editorial anything if you cover the main PC games, especially League and Dota.
Right.
Yeah, now things are a little bit different if you're a big YouTuber because you have automatic views from your subscribers, and that usually snowballs into other things, and you become monster powerhouses like Total Biscuit if you want to do that,
And I mean, I didn't mean to. Snack Attack is right. Like, I didn't mean to take away from the other issue that of course, the Reddit side of it, and the concept of that it's basically free advertising with vote manipulation. You know, obviously that makes it even more of an issue overall. So there's like so many issues as far as that's concerned. I don't know how much you want to talk about those. I mean,
I'm not going to interview myself. This has to be you. You have to do this.
Well, I mean, I don't know if there's much to talk about as far as the obvious is concerned, and that, you know, not only you but a few other individuals have gotten shadow banned recently in like this subsection of subreddits on Reddit for, you know, vote manipulation, which you know, again, in and of itself, I mean, everyone that has been involved has kind of said I was wrong. I apologize, and you know, time continues to move on. As far as the whole concept of,
I mean,
Reddit, what?
And at least to clarify, really, just for myself, there has been no vote manipulation since our talk beyond me voting myself for the link
I'm
that
sorry. Right.
And I did do this, but I just want to, because to me that is by far the worst offense you can do of all the offenses that are listed out, and there are different rules for Reddit, but the one of, you know, getting people to all vote for one thing, or having bots run accounts or alternate accounts to go for a certain score, especially because of the way Reddit works, and the more votes you get in the first minute matter, and, you know, because it's all based on time. That's how these sites have worked for a long time, like Reddit and Dig and Slashdot, et cetera, et cetera. So those are the worst offenses, but we have not at least done that that has not been.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you shouldn't have been removed from On Gamers?
No. I mean, I did circumvent. While we did not break the rules that we agreed upon that we would not do, which is do not tweet links, do not submit articles, and do not ever manipulate the votes, right? Even though those three things did not happen, it was circumvented by me messaging users to ask if they would post, which is pretty much just me posting. And then because of they have the ban now, and because of the ban is there now, I've jeopardized those people. So whatever I can do, or whatever can be done, really, and this is just to help try to plead to Reddit, and I did send this over to Eric over at Reddit. At least just put it on me, not on them and my guys, because it was just me messaging these dudes, just me doing it.
Right.
I mean,
you.
I mean, like
I'm just calling it how it is, but Slasher, like you are like the sacrifice.
I wasn't doing it. Funny enough, these ones I was shown to do was not about traffic. Mainly, like our cap is not a very big subreddit. I wanted to because I thought it would be cool. I thought they would find it interesting.
I get that
if someone were to post it. And usually that happens, and that again goes into the much longer, detailed meta Reddit discussion. Like I was planning on writing like a more extensive reasoning about why I kind of did this and how I think about things. But I don't know how much time you wanna.
Yeah, I mean, I know that you had something that you were working on, so maybe it really is like a bigger. It's a bigger topic for maybe even an entire show. I know that you and a lot of people have their own thoughts, suggestions, comments on what's wrong and how it could potentially be fixed. I mean, the other common question a lot of people are asking Slasher is like, what's this mean for you? There's a lot of people backing you, supporting you, saying, Slasher is kind of still like he's the journalist, and people even said like, Slasher's the one who's broken all of the hot shit, the biggest stories on Gamers. Like, there's no doubt that presence or lack thereof will be noticed on Gamers or whatever. So what the hell does that mean for you?
Well, first for On Gamers, I think they'll be fine. Those guys got stuff good, and they will, I'm sure, find a suitable replacement to help over there. And it'll be great. I will support them, and I think they will be okay. Honestly, I think On Gamers will be okay without me. Obviously, I am totally, sad, and I don't want this, but I have to just move on. I really don't know what will come next. I guess I will just explore things to do. I want to stay in esports, of course. It's been like 15 years.
Fair enough. Let me.
I don't think I'm gonna go anywhere.
Okay, right. I don't. Yeah, obviously. I mean, if like money wasn't an issue, and the fact that it's like, yo, I got to put a roof over my head and eat and shit, like, what would you do? Do you feel like what you want to accomplish as a journalist, like that platform doesn't exist yet? Like, if all that stuff wasn't an issue,
it's very tied into everything that is happening, though. I mean, like even going to Anaheim and doing content over there and seeing how much effect and needs that you need for Reddit as a startup making their own, as we had making our own domain, new website, new layout, a new place for people to go to is not nearly as easy as a site like Team Liquid or even Ghost Through Gamers joined Dota, because they've been around for 10 years. People have been going there. They are community sites at heart. So to get people to train people to do that is very hard. And journalism right now, Reddit is it's a concern, but it's amazing for the industry at the same time. Like, it's amazing, and it really only helps and makes everything so much better and ties everyone together. And it's really cool, more so than I think people really truly realize, because I really do love Reddit. I think it's actually had such a significant impact. Whenever people ask me, like, why do I think esports has gotten so big in the last few years, and you probably got the same question a few times in these interviews. The three main things are streaming, because streaming is awesome and streaming is everything, and we don't have to go through why. This is you just obviously too. The games that have all came out in the last 2009, 2010. And then I always put number 3 added as social media. And not only Twitter. Usually my first answer is Reddit. More than Twitter, more than Facebook, more than Google, or even YouTube. Usually my first answer is Reddit. And I always put that as very important to the infrastructure of esports. Some people like to downplay it and don't think that it's as big of a deal right now, but you would really, really, really miss something very cool about esports without all the Reddit infrastructure for threads and articles and everything the last few years.
As a caster, can I bring up the I mean, when esports, and it seems like forever and a day ago, but when esports was sort of making when it was being like, I'm the comeback kid at MLG events, during StarCraft 2 events, and I've told this story on Live on 3, like I know I have, like, this, imagine a 2-year younger, rabid, long-haired, metal slasher running up to us like 15 seconds before the broadcast was going to start and was like, yo, man, you got to pimp Reddit. You got it. You've got to pimp it. You've got to get on. And so at first, we were like, oh, God, okay, Rod, just for you, we're going to do this. Hey, guys, welcome to MLG Championship Sunday. Don't forget, go over to... And we did that. And he like trained us to the point where, of course, as the community grew, it was like, wow, there's a great community. And then it just sort of fulfilled on its own from that point. But I do recall as Slasher as sort of the innovator of, you're talking to thousands of people right now. So you guys' mouths are the fastest way to spread this out. And I think at the time, Slasher, you were actually working for MLG with the sole purpose of kind of like getting the word out.
Yeah, I mean, I was totally on that shit from the very beginning. I mean, like, I come from old Dig background. You can make fun of Dig as much as you want, but it was fucking cool before version 3, and it was like a cool place to go to, and people would talk about esports even on Dig, and that's what drew me to, like, more and more so to Dig, was to promote esports on the Dig. And then Dig obviously died and Reddit took over, and things got like way crazier, and they've like took off ever since then. And Reddit is far better than Dig ever was, even in its prime.
Of course, right.
So now, but that whole take on the internet and like how you, like, I always love these sites. You've had Slashdot, you've had Fark, you've had Dig, and now you've had Reddit. And that's kind of like the evolution of the aggregate best of every possible thing you can get, but it's included now in this massive, it's the best forum on the internet. So like, I was totally in that shit when StarCraft was the very first esports subreddit for any of the games. This is before really Dota,
yep,
or League, any of them took off, at least in terms of Reddit. And I knew that would be just so cool and so useful for the community that I had to make you talk about that shit and mention them, because of any of the forums. I also told you to include something awful.
Yeah, something awful and 4chan.
I gave legit shout outs to 4chan's V and something awful. No one else would have the balls to do that shit, and I'd probably never be able to do that. But I tried to support like the hardcore communities. Even something awful had like a StarCraft 2 section back then. But Reddit was still like the place to go to. And it's continued, I feel like, ever since. You've seen it evolve into every game now. It's a legitimate question of, are StarCraft or Team Liquid, which is your favorite? Counter-Strike is Global Offensive or HLTV.org because ESCA is shit and Godfrag is gone. And then League is by far, there's no competition for League in terms of where you go to read. And Dota is pretty actually competitive. But I'd say the Reddit or maybe Liquid, depending on what you want to find. Enjoying Dota is good, and Ghost of Gamers is good, and there's actually other sites too. But, you know, Reddit is still probably a lot of people's pick for the best place to go see stuff and discuss shit and talk about whatever thing it is.
What?
I don't know.
We can...
Do you have more questions? We got some questions? How about that?
Do I have some questions?
Well,
I had asked you a couple that I'd pull from chat. You know, there's a lot of, obviously.
You can give me more.
There's a lot of other stuff. I mean, there's a couple people that are like, "Yo, doesn't Slasher think something like this can actually hurt his career to the point of him not being able to be a journalist anymore?"
I mean, of course, I am not. This is not good. I mean, I'm owning up to what I did. This is what happened, and these are the consequences that have to happen. I mean, so of course I'm worried. I have shit to deal with. I have personal stuff. I mean, I got stuff to move forward, but, you know, just have to move forward, right? And, yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, I'm not, there's some other stuff coming in, but I mean, is there anything else you want to? So I'm ready to talk esports.
No one cares about like the meta Reddit shit. It actually bothers me. You guys are
well, you're gonna elaborate on your sort of Reddit thoughts, right? In general,
yes. I just really hope that On Gamers gets unbanned. I believe they should be. It should be placed on just on me and only me, and that I think On Gamers should be the domain unbanned. At least I am hoping so. That's what I would like out of this.
All right. Word.
So if you want to support me, you can support that. All five of you.
All five? What do you mean all five? All five of who? I mean, I think it's a valiant thing that you're doing. And so if that's something that happens as a result of your action, then great. Yeah, I don't really have anything else to say on the topic, Slasher. I'm pretty curious to, see what will happen with On Gamers. Necessarily, without you there. I mean, obviously talented individuals, but it is definitely a whole. And then obviously, I'm pretty curious to see what you're gonna.
I guess I got somewhat sidetracked. My whole lead up to that was that. Journalism is hard right now in esports, and I think I want to continue to be a journalist. I mean, I could always join the dark side, and it does interest me at different places, and and try to do, maybe social media marketing type of things. But I like being a journalist. I think that there's been way too much. If I have to listen to another fucking discussion about esports journalism, I'm gonna kill some people. And I make sure I refuse to talk about it on the show. Have I not been good? I feel
What?
like I've been good.
About what?
We don't ever talk about esports journalism. We have never spent more than 5 minutes discussing esports journalism or the state of
We
journalism.
haven't.
I don't
I'm
think
almost
so.
positive we have at one point. Maybe we haven't. Maybe you've come on
Maybe
Inside the Game and talked
briefly,
about it.
maybe, but I don't
Oh yeah, that
initiate
was on
it.
ITG. Yeah.
Okay, so,
Yeah.
but I will say that things are. It's you do have to, you know, work your ass off as a journalist. It is cutthroat. It's I would say more difficult than the industry side. I mean, of the infrastructure of the leagues and the teams and the um and the developers, of course. But like of everyone, journalists, it is rough. It is hard. But I still like to do it, and keeping people honest, including myself, uh, is still has to be important. And someone's gotta do it.
So
I mean, I've been totally proud of all the work that we've done. I think we have totally fucking kicked ass in the art in the all the articles that we put out across a ton of different fields. Everything from breaking news, the interviews, to recaps, to features, to the beat news, to trade signings, player signings, and inner workings of the entire industry. I am totally happy with the work that we put out. Um, in that way.
can I ask one more sort of super not fluffy question?
Sure.
I mean, so I'm gonna kind of take like four people's questions and kind of ball it into one. But there are some people that said, okay, so some stuff went on the first time that resulted in sort of actions that an additional rule set. Right. This was I believe the fake account upvoting stuff.
Mhm.
Do you feel like that no one was held accountable for that, but this has happened and now you are being fired? I guess I'm asking, and all the other people are asking, is that fair? And do you think that what happened the first time was actually worse than this?
I mean, it's hard for me to really make that decision and discern which is harder from my perspective. I would
Okay.
think it's actually easier for people from the outside to make their own conclusions and just feel how they want. I mean, there was the first time. I feel like I helped fix that first time. So to me, the first time was okay because in the end, helped make it okay in the end. So maybe I even have rosy memories of the first one because at least I got it good before I totally I did not do that here and messed it up. But I mean, should there have been accountable more so in the first one? I mean, maybe not. Uh, really, people are allowed to think what they think, and about my situation. I mean, I just felt like this is probably the right decision to do. Again, just so if there's any chance of the domain being unbanned and then being okay, that would be much better. And so. But for the first one, I don't know. What do you think, Wheat?
I mean, I I have a hard time giving my opinion because obviously I'm also talking about my friend, right? If this was like someone else and another thing, like I might have a different perspective about it all. But, like from what yes, there was an established rules after rules were broken that then were broken by you that resulted in this. But at the same time, not to necessarily put the I guess, the balance of justice in my hands either. But, there are people that say the original offense was worse than what Slasher did. It's all I mean, both are wrong. It's like, well, I don't know if you want to compare two wrongs. It's just a question. So what do I think? I don't think anyone necessarily got held accountable for that first thing. And I think that's why it's weird. If someone would have been held accountable, if someone would have been fired or moved. So, from that perspective, I understand why people are going, it seems a little odd then that and I'm not saying you're, that what you said isn't totally true, but like from I think a lot of people's perspective, Slasher, if no one took accountability for the initial infraction, but then you take accountability for this one and then say, look, this was all me, you kind of took that bullet where before there was like, no one held accountable for that. So that's why people are, I get that line of thinking.
Well, before I was able to have a shield of bullets, and we got shot like a million times, but at the very end, we called a truce. So I never actually, I was able to settle things down peacefully the first time, at least. What I will say is that the last time the vote manipulation is way worse, I still believe, than any of the other infractions here. I believe the infraction here that happened, I think vote manipulation is by far the worst. By far, whatever it is. Alternate accounts, bots, or organized rings of people voting is the thing that can make Reddit the most messed up. People's complaints about why digs suck because power users had too much control and the average user cannot submit things, because when power users submitted, their stuff gets to the front page. I know this because I was a power user of dig. I know that sentiment was very true. Reddit has had a complete opposite ideology where anyone could submit anything and anything can become popular, and that part has stayed relatively true over time, and that has been their number one kind of line of thinking and goals in that way. The infraction here was because circumventing the submission of the link. So last time at least was much worse, yes, in that way.
I think that's probably the last question I had. There's a lot of people asking questions that you've actually already talked about or answered. So, we could talk about esports and whatever. Do you want to?
We hit top of the hour. Can we go a little bit late today?
I think just a little bit.
9:15.
Yeah, maybe
9:15. Okay, it's good. Do me a solid, Wheat.
Okay.
I guess all right. My final topic, my final thoughts, then, and then we can move on. Let's see if you have anything else.
No, it's up to you.
So I really don't know what my future entails. And I will be.
Are you just going to become a full-time streamer on Twitch?
Yes.
And play Dota 2 all the time.
Totally. That is. I'm going to be up for it. I'm actually going to be a caster.
Yeah.
I'm going to start casting everything. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, it should be fantastic. I'll just start casting every game. It doesn't matter, because it doesn't, does it? You don't know. You don't have to know how to cast.
You go for it. You go for it, Rod.
That's the new casting way in esports. Have you played the game more than a year? No. Does it matter? Probably not. You're now the expert caster.
Sure. If you think it's that easy, you go ahead and give it a shot. I'll give you some tips along the way. Okay.
Hey, you know what? This is what I've seen over the past year or two. I'm not gonna name any names here, but there's some,
I bet you could cast some fighting games.
There's been some shit that's happened just like this. No, I'm not casting anything. I refuse to cast anything. I'll cast Quake because I know the game and I can play the game because I think that
obviously this is your calling to bring back Quake. use your powers to just bring it back.
Yeah, yeah. Let me
bring it back. All right,
let me get right on that.
Sorry, you were giving your final thoughts. You're about to say something
totally
impactful and emotional.
Yeah, well, we're going off subject. Really do hope On Gamers gets unbanned. So if you want to do anything, do that. I don't really know what my future is. I'm going to release an article about more in depth about Reddit and kind of the way the overarching rules work and how that has interacted with Reddit as an esports community and its impact on social media and just how that's going to affect everything and the way that people submit links, because there are still quite a number of organizations out there, again, not going to name any names, that all still submit their own content in one form or another to Reddit. And there is at least one culprit.
Well, wouldn't after this Reddit be looking for that kind of thing? Because lots of people are talking about that very thing. Like,
I mean, some have, yes, but there are still other organizations that have been doing it and nothing has transpired. I don't fault them for doing it. I actually think that the Reddit rule should be changed for people to do this more often, but it is a stronger warning, yes, for organizations that are posting content from their own account and that are not abiding by the 9-to-1 rule, which has its own involved thing of whether it is real or not and how much it is enforced, and in what circumstances is it enforced. So I'm going to write that. That'll probably come out tomorrow or so. And otherwise, if you have questions, you can tweet me and I'll start looking through things and reply to some questions if you have more.
All right. There's a few individuals that have actually offered to call in too, but I think are we going to talk esports? I mean,
we are going to talk esports, but we should have on our first guest with us talking esports, and then we can do phone calls in half an hour.
Dude, if you actually think we can get through all this stuff, then let's do it. But what are you talking about?
So I want to talk about ESEA and ESO 1, and then hold off phone calls for just a little bit, because I did tell Steel, champions of season 16 for ESEA, America did not win in soccer. We disappointed by not scoring a goal in the 92nd minute, even though Belgium looked much better the whole way through. But in Counter-Strike, with NIP, Navi, and Virtus Pro all in attendance, America comes first and second, with iBuyPower beating Complexity in the finals. Both teams beat European teams throughout the tournament. NIP, Virtus, and Navi all losing to North American teams at the event.
Which is kind of crazy, right? I mean,
it's very cool to see. This is the second season in a row that American teams have played well in America against the world's best. I mean, there's a ton of discussion about, the jet lag. A lot of people want to talk about the maps because ESCA uses a larger map pool, and the European teams don't have as much experience, honestly, on those maps, because nearly all the tournaments they play in have had a smaller map pool. And ESCA expands it to more Americanized maps. And this is kind of a thing that's been part of Counter-Strike and FPS games for the past 15 years, always, that Americans play different maps than the Europeans. The Europeans and Americans each have their map, usually on the maps they like to play best. They're always been different. Whenever I played Quake 2 Capture the Flag, it was always fucking different.
Right, right.
There was a lot of maps that were played in CPL that were not played in the European leagues back in the day.
But that didn't stop them back in the day either.
Well, I mean, maybe Thorne will call in. This is not what he was going to talk about, but I'm sure he could bring up some examples of Americans playing well on home soil as opposed to when they went overseas. I mean, you saw Team 3D, Complexity over the years play better in America than they did as much internationally. I feel like that at least was shown very often. So I believe that with the last ESCA LAN and then this ESCA LAN, Americans playing well and at least winning the games. They could lose even with the map advantage and even with Europeans having some jet lag if they attest to that. I mean they could still beat the American teams, but the American teams still stepped up and they still got first and second. I honestly did not watch like nearly
Zombie
any
Ritual's getting mad. Navi played with the stand-in. Virtus Pro had a Bali play minutes after getting off of a plane.
Navi did have a stand-in, but they were still playing rather well. I mean, I think it was Guardian that did not play, and that is a big deal for them.
I think people should celebrate the fact that there's competition. Regardless, hey, this is just another great chapter in the story. If the Americans go over and get their ass kicked, then so be it. But if they don't, then that's how esports works, isn't it, Slasher? Like that's how it always happens. We look this and that, but someone won, and now there'll be another tournament that will prove whether or not that was just a fluke or if these people are going to do some damage.
Well, no one will dispute beating an IP because you can't do that. I mean, you can try, but it's still not. It's not going to fly. So the Americans played well, and then I would like to let's bring him on because I told him we'd talk to Steel.
Okay, we're going to bring Steel on, which is great because I'm trying to think of like North American Counter-Strike champions.
I mean, they beat Cal twice to win this championship. It's been them versus Complexity back and forth. The players switching teams. Of course, Swag. Some people saying the MVP of this last tournament playing for iBuyPower instead of Complexity. And just kind of the impact of what has happened between these two teams. It has been a big deal and rivalry for North America. I think that is very cool to have right now, especially with the absence of big names like EG and 3D, of having teams to the traditional old school teams, or even United 5 is not what it once was or is.
Well, he's ready to come on.
Yeah, let's bring him on.
All right, we're bringing on Joshua. Hey man, how's it going, Josh?
How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. You hear him okay?
How you doing, man?
Yeah, I can hear you both great.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah,
always just got to make sure. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Obviously, big victory. I know that event, especially for North America, is always kind of it's become sort of the annual thing. It's like a big event. But let's talk a little bit about that. Now, you've just recently joined iBuyPower. When I say that, I say it's like within the last few months, right?
Yes.
So talk to me a little bit about joining this team and building up to the point where you're at here for the ESEA Season 16 LAN.
Okay, well, I know historically the team was kind of having a little bit of misfortunes when they went overseas, so they hired the skill and the leadership of Dazed. And Dazed is actually one of my old teammates from several years ago in the CS Source days. And even though he was able to bring Titan to kind of like their knees in not this past season, but the season before it wasn't enough when they went overseas to IM Katowice. So they needed something else. They needed something more than that. And that was when they kind of, I guess some people want to say poached. That's when they recruited Swag. And then they were also looking for someone else, someone who was vocal within the team, someone who could kind of do it all. So they approached me as well. And then that's how I came to be on the team. We played together since, I guess it's been about 3 months now. So basically a couple of weeks after the start of the ESEA season, we started playing together. We tried to, focus on all the maps just like one at a time. And then we focused on all of the maps just like as much as we could play together. But it was basically bringing in different philosophies that worked really well. Daze and I have very different philosophies. We're both in-game leaders on whatever teams we played for, so it was really good getting us together and kind of just like saying, "Hey, I have this idea. No, that won't work because of this reason," and then kind of like figuring out a middle ground where we could actually be successful.
Awesome. And just out of curiosity, what's your CS/FPS history?
I've been playing Source competitively since 2008. Before that, I wasn't really playing anything competitively or professionally. I played Warcraft 3. I played like Battlefield 2. I played Battlefield 2 TWL. Like Warcraft 3, I played like 2v2 arranged teams with my brothers in some like in one of those like weekly whatever thing for points or whatever. So nothing competitive, nothing on a professional level. I always like to compete in whatever I did.
But
so
you've
I
always had
wanted to
that
be the best.
fire. Yeah.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Like Battlefield, I remember like I was top 200 helicopter pilots in the global ranking thing. But it's like, what does that actually mean? That doesn't mean anything. It's just like a pub. But yeah, I've been playing games my entire life, man. I grew up with like Duke Nukem 3D. I had to hop on the computer before my brothers got home from school, get my like nice 15 minutes in, then they would come on. So I played like Unreal Tournament. I played way back to like Scorched Earth and other DOS games that I don't even remember. So I've been playing my entire life though. But competitively, I started, I guess, my professional career starting from 2008. That's when I just started joining like Cal and CEVO and the big leagues.
Right on. And you said Scorched Earth, which brings back a lot of memories. So I'm with you. I'm with you on that one. So, Slasher.
I was going to say you shouldn't worry about that. You can make a whole YouTube career off of that top 200 helicopter battlefield thing by now. If you stuck with it all through 4,
now you can.
500,000 views per video.
Damn it, man.
Top 200 helicopter shit. What are you doing here? Haven't you realized? Congratulations.
Thank you.
On winning this weekend. This must feel better than being pro observer, I assume.
It is definitely better. Yeah, that's exactly why I wanted to get back into the saddle, so to speak.
Wait, so we're just for reference here. You used to observe for?
So ESL hired me to be the I guess the CS:GO cameraman for the EMS events. So that was EMS 1. It was 3 events. So EMS Raid Call 1, I think they had 2 different events, and then the one in Poland at Katowice, the one that doubled up with IEM. Just this past, was it March? So they were hiring me to do the observer role because I was living in Europe at the time. So it was cheap for them to fly me over. I had in-game knowledge. I could kind of do the camera role. And my team's never qualified for the event. So it's just like, well, who could we get? Who can we depend on? Let's just get this guy. So the first time I did it for free. The second time they paid me a little bit. And then I guess at IEM they paid me a bit more. But after that,
spectator money.
Yeah,
I know.
I feel like there's also the plot for a Disney movie. You know, from like spectator to winning lands, right?
Well, it's just like when I moved to Europe, I was playing with MTW and they went under, and then that caused a whole bunch of issues for me. So I just started working full time in London, just living there, and then I kept going to I kept up with the scene. I kept playing, but my teams were like never good enough to break it out into the top 10. Well, so what happened is I went to Poland and I saw the stadium, 14,000 people watching CS live, cheering, chanting, everything. Like I'm trying to sit there with my headphones on, kind of observe the game, and all I'm hearing is the crowd shaking the entire stadium. I'm like, I don't want to be back here doing this. I want to be out there. I want to be playing the game. I want to be on the stage. I want people chanting and cheering for my team. Like I want to be out there. I want to be winning that trophy. Like that is what I want to do, not sitting around here catching all the action. So right after that is basically when I was still talking to iBuyPower, and then they said, yeah, let's do it. And then I said, all right, I'll get my plane ticket back to Canada. So I'm living back in my hometown, Toronto. So
awesome. I didn't mean to derail your question, Slasher. Sorry.
Has this fulfilled what you had wanted there? I mean, obviously you don't have a stadium filled in Poland, but you did beat some very good Counter-Strike teams.
I don't think I've got to the point where I want to be yet. I think ESL 1 Cologne is the best bet for that. That's what I'm aiming for. That's what my team's aiming for. We want to be there. We want to be on that stage. We want to be not like on one of those side stages. We want to be on the main stage. So we aren't at where we want to be yet.
Was this a big step for you guys in getting to that? I mean, in terms of how you visualized where you want to be personally, was winning this land, the ESCA Season 16 land, specifically one of those steps?
Yeah, this is definitely a great stepping stone. It was basically our first and only test to see how we actually fare against the top teams, the top dogs. Like Complexity even kind of came out of the woodworks and stepped up a lot for them, for I guess their organization. But I mean, getting the best of Virtus Pro, who had just won the last major, 100 grand for the team. This was only a matter of like 2-3 months ago. So that's a great experience to actually topple them. It's great to know that, if we actually went up against a top tier team like that in Europe, we'd fare all right against them. So hopefully this time my team makes it out of the group stages. And that's basically all it comes down to. If we're able to kind of break out through the group stages, get to the best of 3 matches and make a splash, I think that's the biggest stepping stone that now, you can get past the ESCA.
Is there something telling that I should be hearing from you, because you mentioned Virtus Pro but have ignored the finals with Complexity? Is this not a big deal to you? I mean, because you and Complexity now back and forth for the best team in North America. Complexity did beat NIP and Navi as you beat Virtus Pro this past weekend, but you have gotten the better of Complexity as of late. What do you attribute this to? Are you now only looking towards Europe?
We've been playing like since Swag left Complexity and joined iBuyPower at the same time as me. So I joined the same week that Swag did. We've been crushing Complexity online, offline, everywhere. The only time we've ever lost to them was at a local LAN in Southern California. It was like midnight or something. It was on cash. We lost in triple overtime. That's the only time we've lost to them. Every other time we've beaten them. And I think it's just that we have their number. We are ahead of them. We get more practice in than them. It's just, I guess, our teamwork, our chemistry, everything for us since, I guess, Swag and I joined the team has been going, well. Everything for them has not been like, they just haven't been going anywhere. They don't practice as much as they should be. The chemistry was kind of off. They never really settled in. They never got their footing. So we've always been that step ahead of them, and all we have to do is maintain that gap, and then we should be able to beat them like anytime we face off against each other. That and ex-teammates, like Swag's their ex-teammate. Dazed used to play with Hiko and Samfis. But go on.
Well, Zombie Ritual from chat has a good question, and I feel like now that you guys have solidified yourself sort of as one of the top spots, like can you give us an idea how you feel the other NA teams are doing or improving, aka not like you guys or Complexity?
Okay. It's difficult to have other teams besides the top 2 dogs kind of step out and stand out from the crowd. You need to have the sponsors and the organizations taking interest. You need them to be able to give you something to play for. You need some motivational factor.
Yeah.
Right now, like iBuyPower and Complexity, they're willing to send us overseas to the majors, to the international events. That's what's giving us motivation to sit here, grinding out hours. We don't want to be on. We want to be going out and going on dates or going out to this concert, going to this party, whatever the case may be. We're sacrificing that to an extent to focus on playing this, to go overseas and to travel to these events. So having this strong financial backing to get you to these events is major. It's like absolutely crucial. Without that, the teams kind of drop off. Their motivation just goes right down, because it's like, what are you going to do? You play all this time, and then what do you get out of it? Only 1 or 2 teams get to go overseas. So you have domestic events to play for.
Right.
What's that? You have ESCA LAN 3 times a year. You have all the European teams come in and completely annihilate you. Why? Because you have no proper practice. You have no proper schedule. You have no organization. You're sending yourself out of pocket.
Right.
It's difficult to really focus and improve yourself as players. Like, you just want to just come on and have fun and get whatever you can get out of the game at whatever level you're currently at. No one wants to strive for more than that. Well, it's not fair to say no one. It's just rare to find people that are just willing to like push through all the crap that comes with it just to get to the point where they want to be.
Right. I mean, basically what I'm hearing is kind of like no different than the state of, say, the 1.6 scene back in its heyday, where you had your 1, 2, maybe sometimes 3 top teams. And then even with the flourishing community, it was still very difficult for those breakthrough teams. Obviously, things were a lot different than they are now. If that was, if some of the same things were in place, who knows where we would be. But I can totally understand that perspective and see that it still must be very hard. But I get the impression just by ESCA land and the fact that we do have teams like you guys, teams like Complexity, really showcasing some good skills, that things are like getting better, stabilizing, if you will. Whereas like a year ago, people were like, knock knock, where's the North American teams at? What are your thoughts on that?
I think just, I don't know. Honestly,
do you think that things have equalized in comparison to a year ago, where it was much more EU dominated?
I mean, for sure. Like you can tell just by the results this last weekend that it's stabilized at least a little bit. I mean, when iBuyPower won ESCA LAN the previous season against Titan, people kind of chalked it off that it was a fluke. That I don't even know. People just made all sorts of comments about it as if it didn't even matter. But Titan, within Europe, they're up and down. They're easily a top 3, if not a top 5, if not a top 3 team. But they have such like inconsistent results. One time they'll completely dominate an event. The next time they'll fall out. They'll bomb out in groups. So people will attribute like such like low skill towards the iBuyPower roster that played at the last major, where they went out of groups. But people don't understand that Titan went out in groups as well. And iBuyPower, they went out to Dignitas. They lost like 16-13, and another team, I think it was Fnatic. And I mean, those 2 teams, like Dig are, they're one of the new teams that are just like in the top 3. And Fnatic, they won the first major in DreamHack. I think it was DreamHack Summer, or when it was last year. So it's like you can't really just count out a team, say they're complete garbage because they had 2 close losses against top tier European teams. It's
do you believe you kind of have a little maybe a chip on your shoulder? Maybe the iBuyPower doesn't get the respect it deserves. Maybe underrated. With Complexity getting more of the limelight if a team has for North America.
I think that it could. I think that they obviously haven't done anything to prove themselves just from the previous results as to be like a top 3, top 5 team, something like that. They've gone out in the group stages. But I think people are kind of overanalyzing everything way too much. It's like they're taking things at face value. Oh, they didn't make it out of groups. They're all awful. They're never going to do well. North America's complete crap. I think that it's just luck of the draw. Sometimes you make it out of groups, sometimes you don't. Like the group structure isn't best of 1 format for CS. You just can't do that. It's not a thing. There's so much room for upsets to happen. Even at this last ESCA LAN, we saw NIP getting upset right in the first round. We saw Virtus Pro getting upset. Like we've seen so many upsets.
Right.
It's yes, upsets happen. It's just you need to find some way of rating the teams consistently. Having a team come over for a major once every year and saying, oh, well, they fall in this slot because they lost in 2 best-of-1 matches in group stage isn't a fair assessment. I think we need to kind of group it over a course of several results. They had the result in ESCA where they beat Titan. No one factors that into account, though.
I mean, talking about the consequences and what will happen for these results, we look forward to the next big Counter-Strike tournament, the $250,000 new event that will be had. You guys have a few more months to prepare. We saw, of course, with the World Cup that, our new coach said that we will not win this year. I mean, everyone was hopeful with how the American team would play, but no one thought they'd actually win. How do you feel about your guys and where you are and where you see Complexity at going into that event? Do you feel like you guys have a legitimate shot to be champions if things can go your way in those groups?
Yeah, I honestly, going to Cologne, as long as we have the proper boot camp, as long as we have like we're able to play against all the European playstyles and kind of fix everything before we go into the event, so we're not going in with our pants down, I think we're able to go far in the tournament. I don't know, like historically speaking, you ask me anytime, I'll say my team's gonna win. Don't be an idiot. But I think we can do well. Like I said the same thing for ESL, and everyone chalked this off like, no, they're gonna suck. They're gonna lose to NIP, VP. They're gonna lose to Complexity. Like they're crap on land. They're onliners. No one gives you credit. You have to go out and prove it, and then when you prove it, it's still not enough. So I think
welcome to esports, right?
No, seriously. Like I have a teammate Skadoodle. He's nuts. He's nuts. But people will call him an onliner. He can't replicate that on LAN. He does it at not only one, but a second LAN, and then still it's the same crap. He goes and does it and beyond at a third. This last event, he was on fire. He was just absolutely annihilating everyone. I don't think I've heard one person say Skadoodle's an onliner since that event, though. But it's the same thing. So like we'll just have to go to ESL 1 Cologne, and we'll have to do well. And then there's nothing that anyone can say. Like it's just going to be back and forth banter. There's nothing that can say anything more than the actual result. So that's what we have to wait for.
I mean, this is kind of what I want to hear, though, because Complexity have been kind of flying the torch as the only, maybe not the only, I am part of the problem. I have not given iBuyPower and you guys that hype and media attention that you should, more so than Complexity, because you are the ones that you believe that are going to really rep North America. So this is what I want to hear. I want to hear this shit talk. You don't like everything you say. You don't even count Complexity as like a thing to discuss or talk about in your way of Counter-Strike right now and the domination. And that's what I want to hear from you out of your mouth. So this is making
make it Slasher happy.
I'm sure all of the Americans are loving it right now.
Oh, yeah.
And all the Europeans are hating it.
Oh yeah. That's natural. I guess, I mean, just as a few final questions here, what do you think about some of the people who have made comments about, hey, you know, some of these teams weren't able to play at their full potential? I mean, does that bother you at all? Do you still feel like, hey, in this level of competition, a win is a win? And
like I said before about being Counter-Strike, it's Counter-Strike. Upsets do happen.
Right.
But like for as much as people want to say, well, NIP had issues with jet lag. What happens with North American teams when they go to Europe? They have jet lag. Okay, Virtus.pro, I think Virtus.pro was the most, well, between Virtus.pro and Na'Vi, they were the most affected. Virtus.pro being that Snacks had some personal issue that he had to deal with, and then he flew into the LAN a day late and basically rolled off the plane straight into a game. So I think they were affected a lot, and you can actually say they had decreased performance because of that. But if you look at it like objectively, Snacks actually played on fire. It was Pasha that was playing poorly for the team, and Pasha's normally like on fire for them. So for you to chalk up and say, you know what, Virtus.pro played poorly because Snacks was jet lagged. Well, Snacks played perfectly fine. It was the rest of the team that couldn't keep up. So I think people are just finding excuses wherever they can find them. Na'Vi, they had to use Senya, who hasn't played competitively in 4 years, to replace Edward because the U.S. Embassy lost his passport or something. That's also a big deal. But again, like, it's CS. Upsets happen. You'll win some, you lose some. It's just the name of the game.
That's awesome. No, thank you. Thank you for answering. All right, Slasher, any final questions, or should we do shout-outs? And...
no, just good luck at this next ESL event.
Okay.
I am going to be looking for you to represent. I mean, you know, it's always been that way ever since the days of X3 versus NIP.
Yep.
We got to root for the American teams. You and Complexity probably will be the only two teams over there. I would say I don't foresee a third coming. I wish you guys the best of luck.
Great. Thank you.
You have any final thoughts, Josh, or any shout outs you want to give to anyone?
Yeah, I'll give some shout outs.
Actually, wait, I know I do.
Yeah, go.
Oh, Slash.
Oh, I did it.
That's
there's even a new huge update to the way the rifles work and pistols. I asked this question to a ton of StarCraft players at MLG. But what do you think about the current overall state of Counter-Strike right now as the game is included with this new
question.
update?
Included with this new update.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not sure how much
Listen,
you got,
okay.
but...
This update changes a lot. Okay, so it's gonna be changed. Like, there's no way that this update's gonna be the version of CS that's played at ESL 1. It's just not gonna be a thing. Too many things tried to adjust it and they ended up breaking it. So I think Valve's gonna have to.
Did it get better or did it get worse?
The CZ.
It's where so they tried balancing the game and trying to make the game more like understandable. If you just pick up the game, like, this box should be spammable because it's a small piece of wood and it should do this much damage. This thing's metal, it shouldn't be spammable. So, like, beginners that come in, they think one thing's spammable, one thing's not, and it's backwards because it's CS. I think Valve tried to kind of address that by making thin pieces of wood spammable, and now you can just, like, one-shot someone with an up through mid-double doors in Dust 2. And it's like, before you would deal, like, 60 damage to the door. Now you're doing almost like 2 damage penetration. It's like, okay, well, 2 damage off my 100+ damage shot, like, you're still dead. So that's going to create imbalances on specific maps. They made changes to certain maps like Inferno. The boxes and the sights are different. The pillars are different. They tried to balance the Tech 9, which is an like unpopular pistol because it before the update was crap. Now you can fly around the map shooting it as fast as you can. It's like an SMG. It shoots pinpoint accuracy. Like, it's just ridiculous. You can fly around just blasting it and take off 5 people's heads without them even knowing it. And it's just crazy right now. Before the update, like last week at ESEA, I would have been like, you know what, the game's in such a good state. Balance the CZ or take it out of the game or whatever. You've got a game that, you know what, it's for the most part, it's pretty balanced. Like, all of your games are going to have bugs. 1.6 has bugs. Source has bugs. Every game has bugs. Sure, you can tweak things here and there, but for the most part, it was a very enjoyable game. It was fun to play. It was fun to watch. At this point now, they need to fix it.
Oh, so are we at like a DEFCON 5 Volvo Please level of?
It's a Volvo Please.
Oh my God, we are at a Volvo Please. All right. We are really at that level. Like, it has been broken, the game. Okay, this is another thing, community. If we are at a Volvo, please get on that. I mean, for all the things you want. If this was a Dota community, there would be Volvo pleases everywhere. It would be nonstop. I think you should help get the Counter-Strike community going.
I mean,
I'll
right here, guys. Post this.
There you go. You can add that to your shout-outs. How about that?
I'll add that to the shout-outs. All right. So thanks for you guys to let me on the show. Obviously, I'd give a shout-out to my sponsors. Boom. I'm just gonna throw that up there. So that's iBuyPower, ASRock, AData, Western Digital, Intel, and Sennheiser. Also to my manager Derek, Impulsive, all the fans, all the haters, as always, because I don't know why. I think it's because I'm Jewish. At least that's why HLTV hates me.
You know what, dude? You can always use that defense. I've used it many times before. Wait a minute, dude. HLTV hates you because you're Jewish?
Yeah, you look at a thread. You see a thread. Just name Steel. Why do people hate Steel so much? Steel, Jewish dickhead, fucking Jew. Like, okay, like.
Oh wow! I'm a Jew. I gotta bring the Jew defense force with you.
I know, yeah.
Dude, there's
oh
my God, it's crazy. It's crazy on that forum.
Yeah, Israel got a good fucking army. They don't got shit to do. Let's fucking invade HLTV.org and shut that shit down. Fucking showing those dudes.
All right, Steel. Thanks so much for coming on, and good luck. We'll be keeping an eye out.
Thanks.
Take care, man. Have a good one. Bye bye.
Big thanks to Steel. Congrats to iBuyPower. You can ignore the end of that segment if you want to remember anything about fucking Jews and hating Jews. But yeah, those guys, that's what I wanted to hear from him, honestly. That they just crushed complexity, that it really wasn't even any part of his answer regarding their forward thinking. It's all about Europe and all about them proving themselves. And it does seem like he has a chip on his shoulder that they don't get enough respect. iBuyPower doesn't get the credit it deserves against other teams. And I think that hopefully for him, it has for, at least for me, more notice on the map that has changed now that ESCA has happened. Secondly, I'm going to give a Volvo, please. Fix CS. I think everyone should do a Volvo, please fix CS on Twitter.
All right, let's start talking about our other topics because we're already running out of time. Not really hand in hand, so I don't know. I guess we'll just talk about ESL 1 first. ESL 1 took place over this weekend. Slasher, you had mentioned like you didn't get a chance to watch much of it, but it was in a stadium. You wanted to talk about it. Like, it was so cool that I was like, yo, Jen, you got to check this out. Like, I mean, my wife and I were sitting there watching it, and I was like, man, Jen, like, it is fucking awesome to think that, even 3 years ago, there was no one really going, yeah, we're going to be doing esports events in a stadium. I love the panel. Paul did, an exceptional job as always. In my opinion, the only other guy, who can, hold his own when it comes to being like that host and holding all the experts together. So, did a great job. Obviously, having all the experts on the desk, and not only that, but having a rotation of all the experts into the casting, into the hearing. I mean, I was loving the shit when like EG was facing Fnatic, and it was obviously like a Fnatic heavy crowd slasher, and you could just hear the salt in the stadium when like EG won and when like certain things didn't go
that
Fnatic's
makes me
way.
Feel so good. That fucking makes my blood feel
what
so
was
good.
even better?
You salty tears, cry them home. Everybody.
What was even better was that then everyone started rooting for EG, but then they got crushed in what could have been, ladies and gentlemen, the most brutal Game 3 I've ever seen of any finals ever. It goes up there. It's in the top 5 at least. Slasher.
It was beast domination.
It was seriously. I mean, it's so crazy, right? Because you see EG, they have fantastic games versus Fnatic. In fact, up to that point, I'm not sure that they lost a match. Correct me if I'm wrong, but going in, they win.
0, huh?
Yeah, they win the first. They win the first game. They kind of get their asses rocked in game 2, but then game 3 is like, I guarantee you, every EG fan was going through this massive stage of denial where they were like, oh, okay, well, it's 7-0. Like, we've seen teams like EG's come back from 7-0. In fact, they did it earlier versus Fnatic. Like, no big deal. Oh, it's 14-0. It's whatever. Like, they'll be able to do it. I guarantee you, there's still people like, it's 20-0, but maybe no, they're not one person. It was like, holy shit, this game is over. It's 15-0, and I don't think EG's gonna.
Well, you know what, man? That's American style. In the big final, go up by 1, lose the second one, probably close second game. EG had chances to put it away, win a championship, maybe. I haven't seen it. And then game 3, when it all comes down on the line, the guys that have proven themselves in clutch time before, that being the Chinese team, especially, is IG, right? In the final, right?
Yeah.
They've won an international before. It's different players and different lineup, but those guys know how to win in big moments, in big situations. So that's what makes me think about that the most. IG just stepping up, showing good results before the international. I think that's a big win for them.
It was a big win, dude. It was a big win. It was pretty awesome to watch, dude. It was pretty great. So I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, I wish I was there. I wish I could have been in the studio or in the the stadium. It was quite awesome.
How did the stadium look from your perspective?
I mean, it looked great. It looked packed. I mean, obviously, it's some times of the day there were more people than others, but on that final day, dude, it was loud. You could almost feel the energy of the crowd. It was another character in the broadcast, and I really like that.
Well, I hope the event was success for ESL. That's the thing on my mind in terms of the industry.
I agree.
They put a lot of money into probably renting out the stadium and running this event and all the production costs. they had to run into problems with scheduling with the international and Valve not communicating everything as I initially reported a few months ago with the leagues, MLG, that forced them to cancel their Dota plans in Anaheim. So ESL had to deal with raising a compendium compared to now. The compendium, by the way, we forgot, fucking $10 million, Wheat. Shit has happened.
Yeah, you're right. 10 million.
Shit has happened. 10 million and only increasing and going up. It is crazy. So ESL had to compete with that for their compendium. They had to change things around for the way that the rewards would work, and that affects their tickets sold. I am hoping, I do not know if details have been released yet for the event, but I hope it was a success for ESL.
I've got to imagine everything I saw, it looked solid.
People that bought online, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
And because that is, you know, the factor around this, that's why MLG had to cancel. And with all these events going in around the same time, it's if the leagues can withstand these events and make money. I mean, at least that is on my mind, something I would like to find out. If just as a standalone event, can they make this stadium event that they just did a profit off of ticket sales and compendium prices and online video stream ticket sales, merchandise, et cetera, et cetera. I believe that we're at that point. I mean, that's what these big tests are for me.
Sure. As
an industry as a whole, I believe we're at that point where you can make your money off of sales, or that probably hasn't been able to be done as much or consistently before, especially on this scale. No one's ever done a fucking event inside of a stadium besides that we'll see in North America now before. So bigger endeavors, can it make money? Or can it at least break even? But it really should be profitable.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think when you're also in a stadium, like there's a lot of other probably logistics that, you know, do you sell merchandise? The ticket sale? Like there's a lot of things that go into it. There might be other revenue opportunities that, you know, aren't available in other potential venues, but great stuff. It was awesome. If you missed it, I believe you could still go over to their website, check VODs. Definitely worth watching. You can get in, you can get the ticket and watch the replays through the Dota client. I definitely urge you to check it out. Other Dota 2 news. How much do you know about this Fnatic International 4 stuff, Slasher?
International 4?
Yeah, with the Fnatic Dota 2 team.
Well, I mean, they have had their roster mess with Era and his participation.
Right. But I think you might have been down and out when like the weird stuff happened.
So
where like Valve published all the emails.
I don't know this. What happened?
All right, so I'm going to try to... Oh, the ticket from ESL 1 is free. I didn't know that. That's totally awesome. I'm going to try to do this justice, so please, chat, like, help me out. If I improperly represent anything or anyone, then please correct me. Because there's a little bit of telephone. There's a little bit of he said, she said. So you're aware Fnatic they've had a player, Era, who has been unable to compete at some lands, and they've been using a backup for the time. And thank you, Max. I'll make sure to show that as well. So essentially what happened was Fnatic reached out to Valve and was like, yo, we really think that we're not going to be able to play with Era. In fact, we're not going to be able to play with Era. What can we do about this? And I guess some emails were exchanged, and Valve said, hey, listen, you know, we invited the players that were sort of, you know, that were qualified, that were invited, and we don't really, you know, we can't really do that because that it messes with the integrity of the tournament, essentially. So what ended up happening in this exchange of emails, and what I understand is that maybe that Era was talking to Valve, and Fnatic wanted to replace Era, but was saying that like he wasn't physically going to be able to play as a result of his like medical condition. Whereas Era was talking to Valve and was like, yo, I want to play in the international. I just got some shit to work out for myself. So Valve was like, all right, you know, we're not going to play favorites here. Boom, here's all the correspondence.
Online?
Yeah.
Valve posted it?
Valve posted all of it over on the blog. They just posted it, something called Fnatic at the International. And it basically talked about it. They referred to Fnatic's update. They talked about the fact that they had spoken to Era. They actually show emails in there. And I mean, Fnatic was, from my perspective and from what Valve was showing, was trying to get Era out. They wanted to play with, I believe, Excalibur and not Era. Well,
That's
today it finally came out, that Fnatic is indeed playing with Era, and that Excalibur will be going as sort of a coach analyst.
What has happened and transpired here? I assume then Fnatic had just re-signed, Fnatic Dota 2 team had re-signed their contracts to Fnatic, and that is why Patrick, the chief gaming officer, is unable to depart.
So
Era here, because this whole thing is, I mean, I have to look through. I'm on the site now, and I have to look at the.
I mean, there's a lot of reading.
This is ridiculous. I mean, come on. How could this? Why does this have to happen in this way? From just the looking at it from like at face value here, this is on Fnatic to make this parting ways happen and to get their new player in the door before the international, not through Valve. Like, they should not be having to try to, obviously, if Era is not in agreement of this, try to influence Valve to give them the decision to make their trade and not just get rid of him based on the contract or whatever clause they need to pay, however much money to end it, or try to do a trade or something out of this situation.
I mean, and you know what? That shit's going to happen, right? Like, players and teams are going to want to switch players and whatnot. The importance of it, though, is that Valve is like, yo, we uphold the fact that we have invited these 5 players to the competition, and under no circumstances are we going to like change those players. So whatever's going on, that's between you guys, but this is who is representing Fnatic at the competition.
Well, this can't be good for Fnatic. I mean, they're going to be playing with Era. Obviously, there's problems, right?
Wait, someone... Yeah, hold on. The most important... Hold on, I want to see this. TI closing words from... Oh, okay. I didn't know that Era had also stepped forward on that, too. Holy shit, this is even something I never even saw. Like, so all this shit was a fucking tornado and whirlwind, dude. Okay. Wow. So it really is like Slasher. It really is like Fnatic versus Valve and all this. It seems like.
And the whole thing's very bizarre that Valve was even involved in this way. I mean, it looked like Valve has mismanaged a lot of the things, the structure regarding the rules. I think that as much as Valve in the way that they like to have employees and people work at Valve, and it's like a very different culture working at Valve at different companies because everyone can work on different projects and things go differently. And I mean, there is hierarchy, but it's not the same for everything that we've heard and read about Valve, right? But they do lack a esports management team that even Blizzard and Riot both have significant amount of people for, which are directly responsible for relating to tournament matters and player rosters and team locking and communication between teams and leagues and all that stuff, where Valve is just the guys that work on other shit, which are then also now taking care of the international. So they take care of the international and they work on Dota 2 at the same time. And that has caused a lot of the breakdown communication that has now happened along the way.
I have to agree with what Ouchie That Hurts said. So Bruno actually made some comments the other day, and you know, you can put yourself in each person's shoes, right? From Era to Fnatic to Valve, and you can see why it all makes sense, right? Like from that perspective. I think that it's just kind of a clusterfuck and unfortunate timing and all of that because, you know, obviously, in my opinion, the most important thing is Era's health, right? If he's not good enough to in a good condition to play, or it's going to impair his health, then fuck, man, like don't make the kid try to kill himself for playing a game, and don't punish an entire team who qualified as a result of a medical condition that could potentially be out of control. But who's to say that, like, well, this medical condition is serious, but the next time it happens at TI 12 or some guy breaks a toe, you know, like, I understand. Like, I'm sure Valve doesn't want to change their precedents on, like, how they do their invites. And this is, like, a fucking special thing, right, Slasher? This is like, you know, this is like, yo, you feel honored that you are invited, that you are a player that has been, you know, brought into this. So I get it from all the perspectives. Like, should people point fingers at this, or should the players and their actions and how they do at the tournament kind of decide what happens in the future? Because inevitably this will probably happen again. But
I would hope not in this way.
No, not in this way, but you know, like
this seems way too dysfunctional, especially for a team like Fnatic. I would love to actually talk to Karn about this from Fnatic's side, and talk to Era more about what has happened. I'm not sure if there have been any updates to this story, but I mean, you know, I actually, of all the three perspectives, I think you know, Fnatic should dealt this a different way, and I think this is more on the organization side from Valve. I mean, there are really three different ways of thinking about this. The Valve one is the most evident to me if I have to pick one of the three.
Yeah, you know, I'm just like, I'm not going to make any more comment because it is really so he said, she said, and I haven't read even the follow-up blog that apparently Era did after Valve. Like, yo, dude, I mean, I don't know what goes on behind those fucking closed doors. I don't know what Fnatic said to Era, what Fnatic said to any of the other members, or what happened, or if they were trying to push him out or whatever. I just think that I'd agree that it's just kind of a clusterfuck, and it is what it is.
Yeah.
I don't, people are drawing lines in the sand, but I don't need to. Like, it seemed, when initially, from everything I read, it sort of seemed like Era was getting the short end of the stick, but after all that's said and done, is that at the end of the day, I think that it's his decision to make, and it's his health and his concern. That would suck for Fnatic really bad if it hurts their chances, but fucking, you know what? Life fucking is life, right? Shit's gonna happen.
I guess we'll see what happens with them. Teams have issues, roster issues right before the international. Not what, you know, these guys have been working so hard for. CEG having to replace due to injury. I mean, this has happened also. BG's played well. Maybe Fnatic can bounce back too, and it's still going to be very competitive international, just with a few kinks maybe going, man.
Oh yeah, that's right. There's the CIS drama. Right? And another team got denied a visa for like the third time.
Mm-hmm. Who? And that's not good.
Yeah. It was posted 1 day ago that CIS have been denied. Oh, wait. No, this is... Oh, let's see. Was it? Is this the third time? God, there are so many people, because someone else had a denial too, but I don't know. That sucks too, man. Yo, we can't go compete for that $10 million prize pool. Fucking politics.
They'll be okay.
Oh, yeah. It is the third time. God, that makes me sad, dude.
What team?
CIS.
Oh, yeah. I keep thinking like the region, and not the team. That is
one guy
really
got it approved. Like, what the hell?
Unfortunate. I mean, especially because of the magnitude of the event, I can't help but feel like there's like one of them is like a felon, and they can't do it, or there's some lack of communication. If you're gonna be playing for a tournament where you're instantly going to be a fucking millionaire if you win.
And it brings so much prosperity to your country, right? Like, it will be, that headline will be in every major publication of the country who wins.
Dota 2 is huge in Russia. I don't feel like it's difficult to find a lot of media to print out to prove your way and what you're doing and to show you have a good case to make sure that you are accountable. I mean, of course, I don't have the details. I don't know what happened there. But it just feels sloppy if it's this way. I mean, it's also, they probably get penalized because they failed before. I would almost believe that they are more prone to fail again, or they would even work against them because they had failed previous times.
Yeah, they're China, by the way. Not Russia.
Ah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Right there. There's their flag. That's okay.
I've been thinking the region the whole time.
Which actually shouldn't be any... It's still, you can take out Russia, put China in, you'd think that they could... But I don't know. Things are weird. Things are weird there. It's okay, Slasher. Hey, Slasher, okay, Slasher doesn't play that much Dota, okay? Slasher's not trying to pump full his compendium so he doesn't see the faces of all these fine gentlemen and players that will be playing at the International 4 every single day, like some of you guys do. So cut him some slack, okay? Fuck. Well, you know, and it's so funny because
my picks before the International, I'm gonna get that shit right.
Okay. All right, you heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. Live on 3 fantasy picks for the International.
When it comes, gotta keep it on the DL and secret sauce for now. I'm down to take some phone calls for like.
Are you?
Yeah, 20 minutes. I think the only other time, I mean, there's more topics. I know one that became very big in mainstream gaming today was the IESF's decision, which was revealed through a Finnish tournament organizer, that the males were only allowed to play the Hearthstone tournament at the assembly because the IESF, as they say, has separate male and female tournaments. They are trying to align themselves with the IOC and the Olympic Committee and the way they run things. They cited chess having different male and female tournaments as the reasoning for this to happen. I have to say, this is a complete clusterfuck. It's ridiculous. One, yes, it is true, but that chess has male and female tournaments, but there was no female tournament for Hearthstone. And the other games also had interesting rules about males and females. I think Street Fighter, Tekken, and StarCraft were involved. Each of them had...
a female can still enter the World Chess Championship, Slasher.
Yes, I know. Well, I haven't gotten to that point yet, Wheat. First off, they did not offer the chance for a women's tournament for Hearthstone or for StarCraft 2. They did not offer 2 men's and women's tournament for each of the different games. They just disallowed one gender from playing each of the different games and the way they set up the rules. They did not have 2, which you have to have equally. If you want to talk about chess, you have to run them aligned. You can't just ignore females.
Right. So that's bad.
And the second point, as you say, the women's chess players can play in the male championship, and it is known that the best women's chess player of all time has never competed in the women's only chess championship. She has only played in the men's male championship, and she is, from what I saw, by far well is known as the best female chess player of all time. So the comparison they have made and with the issues surrounding here are not good. This is not satisfying.
It kind of makes a lot of people just look sort of dumb in the reasonings. Yeah, it's kind of all, I'm all jacked and silly about that. I'm going to take a call. You down?
Yes.
All right. This person calling in says, it says, call me anonymous. So I suppose welcome anonymous to Live on 3.
Hello. I just want to test and make sure my voice mask is working right now. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes.
Good.
Yes, we can.
All right. I'm double checking on my end. Okay, good. I know an organization that owes 2 different teams more than $1,000 and has owed them this sum of money for more than a year. Actually, one team it's roughly $5,000 and the other team it's roughly $1,000. So what should I do Should I just stay quiet with something like this, or should I just expose them on the spot as soon as I have the chance?
Well, I mean, I guess the question to be asked is like, is this money that hasn't been paid out, and it's been like 30 days? Or are you talking about it's been like a year now?
Over a year.
Have people tried to contact this organization, and have they gotten any response from them at all?
My understanding is that the coach for one of the teams has been contacting this organization time and again, and every time he contacts that organization, they usually say next week, next week, next week. Now here's the interesting part. They've actually paid out the other tournament winners from that organization, if that makes sense. I'm not naming any names. But like, they paid out the first prize winners for that tournament, and they also paid out the third prize winners for that tournament, but they did not pay out that team, which came in second prize.
Well,
is this a league to a team, or is this a team to its players?
I'm sorry?
So is the money owed from the event organizer to the team, or is it the team is owed, the players are owed money from the team who has been paid already by the event?
The organizer owes money to the team.
Okay, so it's not that both the team and the players are owed money from an event.
That is correct.
Okay. Well, I mean, if I think the team owners and players should speak up, get shits done. It's gotten shit done before.
It does. It
really does. I mean, and nowadays, it's really bad luck if you are late on payment, because we are tired of that shit as a community. Like, the thought of CPL creeps in everyone's mind every time someone is owed some money, and we can't enter that phase again. So I feel like the team owner and maybe star player, those are usually your two go-to dudes to get your shit done.
Let me by the way, you're totally free to just drop who it is here if you feel like it warrants that. I mean, I won't stop you, but let me ask you this, because this is always an important thing for me too when I consider these cases. Have they thrown any competitions after this one without having paid out the previous winners?
Fuckloads of them.
Oh, see, to me, that's like the ultimate. That's bad.
Yeah. And if you guys knew who it was, you'd be shocked as well. But I'm not naming any names, and I'm just hoping they're watching and their jimmies are rustled right now that I'm even talking about this.
Well, I would hope that maybe in a future episode you would maybe call in and give us some updates. Yeah, and let us know.
I'll definitely keep you guys posted on the situation. I'm hoping they're watching and they know who I am and what I'm talking about.
Well, you know what? I got some free time now, nowadays, so you could always send
contact Slasher and let him.
Yeah.
Let him
Sure.
Awesome.
Definitely.
All right. Hey, thanks. I actually appreciate you calling in and bringing it to our attention.
No, I appreciate you guys taking the time to answer my question. Thank you.
No problem. Take care.
Bye.
He is my second favorite scary voice caller to the show. I have to say, Wheat. I'm kind of disappointed that we haven't gotten our main scoop man, real deep voice, real sexy, but that was good. I liked him. I like that.
Someone was saying like pointless topic of that. Yeah, maybe it was. I don't know. Maybe there is an organization out there that's not paying. Maybe that phone call will actually do exactly what that guy hoped it did. And if it didn't, oh well, 4 minutes of our time there and gone. I was amused, so I'll take that. We got another caller. Let's take Mac. Hello, Mac. Welcome to Live on 3. What's up?
Not much, man. Wow, I literally called in like 10 seconds ago. Thanks for picking me up.
No problem.
I just really wanted to send some positive energy and some warm regards to Slasher. I know that this is going to be kind of a rough time for him at the moment, and I don't know, like, I'm hoping that Slasher can find something to do within the community soon, occupationally speaking. I find it hard to believe that he would be short on options, given his experience and how long he's been here.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, I will just gotta keep moving forward and see how things go. But I do appreciate the words.
Thanks. I don't know. Like, there's a lot of options I've been thinking about that you could be involved in. Like, I don't know, maybe your own news site. I don't know how payment would work on Gamers, but I feel like you and Richard Lewis, in my opinion, were kind of like, I don't know. I have no idea about what was going on, vaccines or who brought in the most CPM, but like, I feel like you and Richard Lewis were probably are probably the two biggest names on that website.
Well, Richard never was at On Gamers.
He wasn't?
No, Richard. Richard was never.
Once or twice, maybe.
Maybe. You know what? Maybe once was, but in general.
Well, then, damn, I guess. Then I find it really hard to believe that they're getting good reviews in.
Well, you know what I'll say about Richard, though, is I've had a lot of fun. I believe I kind of put my name and foot down on the player and trade signings for different games, and that I was the first one to really get in on the teams and players to talk about player signings. And Richard has stepped it up a lot, especially during the League of Legends free agency. I think me and him went toe-to-toe, but he even got a few more of the bigger scoops on the big teams. So that part is actually the most fun for me. The player and trade signings, like I'm watching the NBA free agency right now, and especially with the World Cup free agency and how the World Cup is affecting different players. Like, that stuff is really cool. I like that aspect actually a lot in esports. So that's my favorite thing with Richard. And anyway.
Cool. Sorry, go on.
Any question?
Yeah, just one more question, and I hope you find something good within the scene again. And are you guys going to TI? I figure you probably are, Slasher, but I don't know about DJ Wheat.
I would love to be going to TI, but unfortunately, as I mentioned earlier in the show, life is life, and life is going to have me as in my best friend's wedding, one of my best friend's weddings. So I'll be gone that weekend, and I will be that guy. You know, people, you've seen that, you've seen the beer commercials where the guy's at the wedding and he's trying to hide that he's watching the football game. Fuck that. I'll be the guy that will be, watching on my Twitch mobile app and, cheering and sad that I'm not there. So sad. I'll miss you guys.
Cool. Well, again, good luck to you, Slasher. And I think, I don't know, I feel like you'll find something even better than you had. Anyway, have a good night.
Take care, man. Peace out.
Thank you.
Appreciate your call.
We
could take, if there is one more, well, there's no one calling right now, but 909-581-8519 or Skype
I'll
me.
tell them to call. No, because because I know there's a few people wanted to call in before. Thorin wanted to call in. I wanted to let Thorin.
Well, I'd say we have at most, if one of them calls in, 15 minutes.
Okay. Well, I've let him know. It's the one more game, right?
What? No, the other one.
No, the other.
No,
okay.
It's not.
Yeah,
Everyone's like,
no,
JP's getting married? Oh, shit. It's not JP. No. I think you would know that.
What's happening?
I said I was in a wedding. It's like my best friend's getting married, one of my best friends, and they're like, "Oh, JP's getting married." It's not JP.
JP, you didn't tell me that much. You're getting married. That's.
What's up, Duncan?
Hey, Matt, can you hear me?
I can.
All right, wait there a sec. I should have to turn the stream off. Okay, how's it going?
It's going good, man. How are you?
Hey, man.
Well, it's not the best of days, but I heard the discussion you had earlier, and so I wanted to call in and just kind of frame the way that it was discussed, because I felt like people were reading into Slasher's answers that he was being vague, or he was didn't want to throw other people under the bus or something. So I just have a little bit to say, and then if you want to ask me any questions about the topic, you can ask me and I'll field them and answer them as best as I can. But basically, I would describe it like this. Okay, the first time we were Reddit banned was largely actually because of no one in the industry actually having clear guidelines on what is and is not allowed on Reddit. So, for example, there'd be some mods of some subreddit who admittedly they're not admins of Reddit, but they might seem like that if you don't know much about Reddit, who would tell you something like, okay, you can tweet a link. That's okay, as long as you don't say upvote it, okay? So there's a simple example. And so everyone in the industry used to tweet their links, and that obviously directly gets people to upvote the stuff naturally, you know, because they follow you. Another example would be, in theory, you would think if someone from my site posts something and I independently go to Reddit and I see it there anyway and I like their piece, well, as I'm just a normal Reddit user myself, can't I upvote their piece? You might think naively yes, but apparently you can't, because that will show up the same way as if they'd told you, hey, I posted this, please upvote it. And so you can see how miscommunication here, or guidelines actually being rules, which were thought to just be guidelines, could lead people to make mistakes. And so mistakes were made initially, okay, and we all acknowledge that. You never saw anyone from OnGamers come out and say, this is all bullshit, like, we're innocent, this isn't right. We accepted everything that was said and said, okay, if these are rules, we understand it, we'll abide by whatever you need. And this is maybe something Slasher can attest to. We all got together at OnGamers and said, if we lose Reddit completely, it's going to be difficult to keep the site going, you know, like we're a new site, we haven't got an established fan base who always goes to our site. So the one premise we have to accept going forwards is no matter how unfair it might seem. So for example, our competitors who haven't been banned can still tweet links, they can still do all this stuff, and, unless they get banned as well. But we all agreed, as all the senior staff, no matter what happens, the premise has to be we can never be banned again. So whatever that takes, we have to figure out a way to do it. And Slasher was even integral in drawing up these policies where we agreed, for example, okay, we never tweet links ever again. We never upvote other people's links that are from our site. We make sure every freelancer knows he can't tweet this stuff. We don't ever use like mules. We don't ever ask someone else like, oh, you work for I'll just throw a site out there because it's not someone I know very well. Let's say I was friends with someone from Ghost of Gamers. I would never say to Ghost of Gamers, hey, Ghost of Gamers, I'll submit your stuff and you submit my stuff, because even though that is technically within the rules, obviously that's circumventing the rules. And then what happens if the Ghost of Gamers guy got annoyed with me one day, hypothetically again, and he goes and tells Reddit? Then I would understand if Reddit then said, oh, so you were doing some sort of collusion to get around our rules. Right. So you can see here that the key thing, this is the key point I want to make about how this discussion was framed. When Slasher did this stuff of his own accord, which I didn't find out about until this ban happened, basically he went against what he'd agreed to do there. And so by going against that, when we then get in this trouble, we can't then all stand behind Slasher and go, well, Slasher did what we all agreed, and you know this was a policy, and we think Reddit is wrong and all that. He's gone against what he himself agreed to do. Now, I can't speak to his reasons why. It's not something I've discussed with him, but that's the key point. So not only has he cost himself his job potentially, and maybe me if I can't continue with this site, but there's people at this site who I'm not exaggerating here, have families. They're starting families. They've got families. They've uprooted and moved to San Francisco to do this job from an office. If they lose their job tomorrow or in a month or 2 months from now, they can't just go like, oh, well, I guess Slasher just made a mistake. Like, we should just forgive him for that. And, you know, he couldn't have known what he was doing. And all, that would not even be true on a basic level. And it wouldn't be their fault in any way. They had no part in why this happened. Now, I will just say quite simply to kind of close up my part that I want to say, Slasher didn't commit like the ultimate sin here in doing this contacting people, okay? That's against Reddit rules, but that's not why we were banned, okay? We were obviously banned because the precedent before was that we were banned. And so now, you know, one more strike, it's kind of like that 3 strikes rule you have in America, where if you've done the 2 big crimes, like rob banks, then as far as I'm aware, you can literally get arrested for the 3rd one, for like stealing a pizza, and you still get the sentence that you were going to get, okay? You still go to jail for whatever, 10 years or something. It's sort of like that, but at the same time, if you knew in that scenario, like, I can't commit another crime, otherwise I'm going to go down, and you committed the crime, even in that extreme scenario I'm giving you now, that's not actually as bad as this scenario, because only you would go to jail. Your mom and dad wouldn't go to jail, and your brother who works over the road wouldn't go to jail, who didn't even know what you were doing. Like, in this scenario, this is the key thing. He actually took an action which violated like the ethics of agreeing not to do something. And then also, unfortunately, I don't believe he did this maliciously, but he might have impacted the jobs of other people he knows. And so that's why I think Slash has been very forthcoming and very honest in saying like, okay, I made a mistake here. Don't blame other people at this site. But I've seen, okay, industry figures or other people, fans, speculating into the vacuum of what he hasn't said and saying, oh, well, if he hasn't said that, then that must mean this, or these other people must have been involved and they threw this one to the... Okay, one more thing I want to say, actually. I'm sorry, but then you can ask me anything you want. One more thing I will make a point of, and this is an extremely important point to make. If Slasher wasn't the only one who'd been involved in this, to my knowledge, I would actually not allow him to be fired from On Gamers on my watch. Slasher can attest to this himself. There was a circumstance, and I won't give the details, in which it was even potentially floated as a possible idea. Like, this is months back. Do we have to remove Slasher for some reason? Like, could we replace him? Or does he have some problems here where we could get someone who doesn't have those problems? And I instantly and explicitly stated, if you remove Slasher, I will leave this job now, and we won't even have any discussion about this anymore. Because if I actually ethically think someone is in the right and they're a friend of mine and I stand by what they do, then that's the scenario it's in. And that would have mean I would have lost my job. And then I don't know where I would go after that. So if that was the case now, no matter what the others think, or if the others weren't involved, but let's say some of them had been, but then they wanted to throw Slasher under the bus, like this is being presented by some people who are speculating with no evidence, then I would leave myself over this. And so you wouldn't just see Slasher leave, I would leave, and then we would write some protest thing. That's not what's happening. So I just want to explicitly say that. And people can believe that if they want or not. And if you have any questions, like some of this doesn't add up to you, feel free to ask me now.
You know, again, without saying names, and obviously this is, I think, something that the community is, as you know, attached to, especially not only the first time, but then after the fact as well. And that's the whole concept that it has been stated many times, whether or not this is true, I don't know, but that a higher up at On Gamers was directly, sort of directly responsible for a lot of these alt accounts that originally brought up some of the first, you know, or the instigation of the first rules. Thorin, is there, I mean, I know that you guys kind of banded together as a group and said, okay, here's our initiatives going forward. But I asked this question earlier to Slasher.
Okay.
Maybe he wasn't the right person to ask because he's obviously in a position where he's just been let go. My question then to you is, I mean, like, what do you think about that? Is there, you know,
Listen, mate, you know me, I'll just tell you straight up. Like, I don't have any evidence of that. Like, it's not something I've been able to investigate. Like, first of all, how would you if it's someone else who's like a higher up above you? Like, it's not like you, I mean, essentially,
Sure.
aside from going to them, I'm not sure how I'd get the evidence of it. But, okay, I've heard those rumors as well. I think in the first instance of us being banned, I think it's quite plausible. Like, if I wasn't involved at On Gamers, I'd say, yeah, I'd bet my money maybe it did happen. I don't have the evidence, so I can't say it did, but I don't think it's implausible, okay? I'll even lay that out there. That I think that's very plausible. But I also think that in that sort of a scenario, that is covered. Okay, so it wasn't the rest of us doing it, obviously, but that is covered within the blanket of what I said about people realized after the first ban, like, okay, no matter what anyone has been doing, we have to go the other way now. Now it has to be so extreme that we're like beyond reproach. We're not doing anything that could even vaguely be construed. Because like I said, the guidelines aren't always that clear. So it has to be like, there can't even be some misinterpretation of like, oh, sorry, we didn't understand that rule, or was this the case? And so in this case, if I acknowledge your premise that could have happened, and like I say, it definitely could have. I'm not saying it didn't. And I would not lie if I didn't know and say, oh, it definitely couldn't have happened. I know this person wouldn't do this, that, and the other. Like, I think that's bullshit when people do that, because let's give the example of what happened with Chanman. I would probably have told you, just as someone who knows Chanman, like, oh, there's no way he would be doing that. Come on. Like, I know him. He's like a really nice guy. Seems very honest and upfront. Right. Like, there's no way he would do that. But it came out that apparently he did it. Again, in that case, I don't have evidence either, but it's been stated that he did it and he's admitted it. So it seems he did. So I think it's certainly plausible.
Okay. All right. I mean, you know, it came up a bunch of times when Slasher, or when we were talking to Slasher earlier. Slasher, you haven't had a chance to respond.
I mean, this is on me. There's no conspiracy behind my words or cover up here. I was forthcoming and truthful with things I said, and it lies on me. And I mean, I do realize the situation that I have now put Duncan, you in, and people that work at the site. And I mean, I understand the magnitude of the situation and the way that how much Reddit is affected for things, and what that could lead to, just the overall stance of everything. I mean, I can't really, I can't hide behind that. I know that is the current state of things, and I'm at least hopeful that maybe that part can at least be reversed with this happening.
I mean, the key thing to say here is this isn't like some political organization where people loosely know each other and they have sort of a connection. And, you know, if we have to throw someone on the bus, let's just pick the guy who's like most expendable. We pick him and we throw him on the bus. First of all, Slasher isn't at all expendable at our site. We're not going to have anyone at our site who can do the stuff that he was doing, okay? So actually, we're immediately going to we're not only not going to get unbanned from Reddit just by removing Slasher, but now we're going to lose all of the hits that he brought in. So I don't know who's going to do that. I'm not going to start doing investigative journalism and stuff. So we're just going to have to figure out some different direction to go in that sense. But secondly, this isn't someone where he was just an employee of the site. I've got a statement I'm going to release after this, okay? One of the reasons I explicitly joined On Gamers was because Slasher worked there, because we've been friends for a number of years, and we'd always said, like, wouldn't it be good to work together? Like, we work in different fields, and we could combine forces, and we both can trust, like, each other can drive traffic, and we both know, like, we're on the level ethically, and we're not going to do, like, some of the ridiculous stuff you find out about behind the scenes of one person doing this and doing another thing, and, like, you know it's going to come to light. Like, we all knew, okay, we can trust each other. And in this particular instance, it's like, if there was any way, like I described before, if there was any way for this not to happen, like there was some way we could say, okay, well, we're all friends with Slasher, so can we, like, is there like some minor punishment we can give him, or is there some like way to fix it? Unfortunately, because of how strict the Reddit thing is, there's no way we can just overturn this, okay? So unfortunately, that's already done. And so we were just put in a position where, despite our feelings towards a person, something like this had to be done. And since, like I say, in this case, it wasn't some sort of conspiracy, it's not like we could, as a site, take some sort of punishment or something. There really was a situation where there's only one person who really could have actions taken against them. And I'm sorry, like I mentioned before, just as if my friends do something and I think ethically they're in the right, I'll stand up no matter what the consequences are. Likewise, I have to be fair the other way around. Like, if I stand up in this case and say, oh, don't let Slasher be removed, or like I'll leave and then I'll get someone else to leave and all the head people will leave, well then, first of all, those people who might lose their jobs are going to lose their jobs anyway, but then they'll have lost them for nothing as well. It's like I have to take like the ethical principle here, even if it goes against someone who was a friend of mine.
Right. No, I mean, I even made a similar comment earlier that obviously my perceptions might be a bit different for both parties, to, you know, if I was looking at this from a completely objective point of view, but I totally understand that. And obviously throwing also a work peer in there is, you know, adds to it as well. So,
like, if I was in his position, okay, maybe I make a mistake and did something like this, I would probably react the same way Slasher did. Like, I would understand it, okay? I mean, it's not something I want. And listen, I wish in this world for both Reddit, in terms of On Gamers, and for Slasher, like, I don't think these things should be the ultimate crime where, like, you know, where we know where when someone makes a mistake in esports, people want to just drive them out and be like, you should never work again, you're so unprofessional. That's a ridiculous standpoint. Even in real life, if you murder someone, you can sometimes get out of jail in like 10 years and go on real life again.
Actually,
you know?
Thorne, let me yell a little bit too, because I want to yell with you a little bit. No, sure? I agree. Man. I mean, like, I understand that, like, people are making I think the one thing I want to quantify here is that people's jobs are at risk. So obviously I have sympathy there. But at the same time, I'm just like, is this really like the worst fucking thing that, you know, that could have been done when in essence, it really was just like, hey, I'm passionate about esports. I love esports. You know, I don't believe that Slasher maliciously tried to break a rule knowing that, like, you know, whatever. It just kind of makes me angry because, yes, we've got problems here in Champion in similar situations. People look at what has happened. People look at the action that's done and not the contributions that he's made to get there. Similar things with Slasher, like all these contributions that have been made. Like, yes, there is mistake. Yes, we are judged on our successes and our mistakes in every career, regardless of whether it's esports or not. But I mean, fuck, it's not like he ran over a pack of cute puppies, you know? Like, that's the thing, that it is that substantial when people's jobs are on the line. But at the same time, you know, Thorne, like you said, there's a frustrating element to this, right? Because it's hard for me to look at this like this is like stabbing someone in the kidney. Holy shit, like, this is so bad. And for a lot of people, I'd imagine that it's really difficult to quantify this as sort of vote manipulations. This happens, someone gets fired, now jobs are on the line. Like, that just doesn't make sense.
I mean, that's like what I mean. Like, I wish there was some outlined path where there was like, okay, there's a punishment in the sense that like counterbalancing what a person's done. I don't believe in like punishing unduly though. Like I don't believe in that bullshit of like, let's make an example. That's like actually unethical. So if it was up to me for both the Reddit ban and for Slasher, there would be some sort of system like, okay, a period of time has to pass where like in a real jail sentence, you prove that you've been rehabilitated, you're not a threat in this area, then gradually we can release you back into society. So in this sense, there'd be a period of time where they knew this behavior didn't go on, we've abided by every rule, then we can get something reinstated, okay? And then they see how that goes, and then something else. So if it was up to me, we'd do that. It's the same thing with Slasher. Because like I say, his one thing on its own isn't the worst crime in the world. The real problem is that it's... the best way to describe it is that, okay, not every mistake made was his leading up to this point, but at the end, it only took one tiny mistake to make all the rest of it come into full effect on everyone in the company, the maximum effect possible. And so unfortunately, since he's the one to have done that last step and no one else did, then first of all, he's obviously going to be the focal point of it. And then secondly, think of it this way, okay? Even if we just said, okay, maybe I could act outside of my boss, and I said, okay, I figured out a way to save on gamers, so like I'll let Slasher stay. Well, then say the same thing existed and Reddit unbanned us. How could I know deep in my heart that like he won't do another mistake, or maybe a different type tomorrow? Like, at least in the short term, I can't. Like, at least now you'd have to somehow separate him from that position where he could be like that. Because he, like everyone else who's done something, okay, he has to, like, have time to reflect on it and then show that he's not going to do it again. And then that's when you can, like, build trust again. You can't just immediately give it right back, you know? So, listen, it's not a situation I want to be in, but under the circumstances, I think this is the only path I can think of to take. Like, it wasn't something where my boss came in one day and told me, you know what, Slash is fired, and, like, I don't care what any of you think, like, business as usual, and just say that you agree with me. If I didn't agree, I would tell you right now, this is something where when I heard it, like I said, I've been someone who's stood up for Slasher in the past, not when he's done any big crimes or anything, but just when things happened in the past where there was friction. And I've stood up in the past because I knew it was the right thing. But in this particular case, I couldn't make a case. Like, how could I justify it when I myself know, like, we all agreed, you know, like, this wasn't what we were going to do. And I don't want to, like, keep dragging Slasher through the muck here and, like, force him to crawl on broken glass and wear sackcloth for ages. But I'm just clarifying here that before, unfortunately, people have done that thing where when there's a vacuum, like Slash has said a few things, they think, oh, well, I can see what he's not said there and what that really means, which isn't true whatsoever. And unfortunately, there have been some people in the industry who have no inside knowledge, but as we all know in esports, the way to make yourself feel like you've got a big dick is to tell everyone that you've got a big dick when you don't have to show them you've got a big dick. You can have a small dick. And you know what? Usually the guy who doesn't have a big dick's the one who has to try and convince he does. So that's really kind of like what's going on in that area. So if I was everyone looking at this situation, I'd just focus more on these facts. Like, no one actually wants this to be the case. It is, unfortunately. And then the impact of how it impinges on other people means that, like, what else can we really do here? If someone else had a really good suggestion, I'd love to hear it, because I can't think of one, you know.
No, I mean, that's like probably for a whole nother 2-hour show. So we do have to wrap soon. Slasher, I want to give you final thoughts.
I mean, I've wanted to work with Thorin for so long together, and it has been great. I feel like we have accomplished so much of the things that we had talked about for so long in just a short amount of time. I mean, it's only been about 8 months. We've only really had like full support for maybe like half a year, and everything was still so short and young. I do believe we have successfully did a lot of things that we talked about, and really at least put our mark on for everything that we did do during this time. And I mean, I want to still work with you. I mean, I know the situation that I've led myself in, and I mean, I know why you can't support this, and it makes sense.
I mean, no one knows what the future holds, maybe in the future something like I say, I'm in favor of like rehabilitation and forgiving the past and all that stuff. But the point is, like, right now that something has to happen anyway, right? We can't just like pretend nothing happened. So we have to go forwards for now. And okay, the drama's right now, so everyone wants to know right now what we're going to do and how we're going to fix it. But it's like a time issue, time has to pass before these things can be fixed, right?
Right.
Well, I mean, I'm gonna hate not working with you and Travis and Matt among the other guys more than any other thing, because I know how much, even with all different types of stuff that have to be dealt with, we were kicking ass, honestly. But I think you guys will be fine, and who knows, maybe some good will come out of this.
We'll see. Oh, listen, jokes aside, on the upside, Slasher, you can now have your content posted on Reddit. So there's a minor upside there, right? If you go and join some other site, you can get some stuff posted. You can work your way back into things. And as I've noticed in esports, okay, people are really judgmental in the short term. But if you do good work and you consistently do good work, eventually I think it overpowers people, and the bullshit gets forgotten and you can move on. So I don't see any reason why you can't continue on and why these things can't be built back up again.
Well, I continue to plead to Reddit to unban on gamers, give me the extra ban, or do what needs to be done to just lay this on me. I mean, I don't know if too optimistic about this happening, but I hope this does.
Thorn, thanks for calling, dude.
Okay, thanks, mate.
Appreciate it. Take care, man. Bye-bye. All right, well, let's not, Slasher. People are like, yo, dude, Slasher looks like he needs massive e-hugs and shit. Yeah, that was... Yeah. Why don't we wrap the show? You need to decompress and shit. I'm sure you have a lot to think about.
Do you want to...
So...
Yeah, do you want to take another?
Nah, man. Nah.
No?
Nah.
Okay.
Dude, why do you want to?
I don't know.
At this point, it's time to...
That's a way to go. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, bro. No, we started late, too. I got some other stuff. Family in town for the 4th. I know you're ready to celebrate America.
Mm-hmm. I am ready to celebrate nothing, honestly. But go America. Because why not?
Because why not? All right, what are your final words? What are your final words?
I think Duncan put it quite well into perspective. There is no other side truly for this. I mean, there is an entire breakdown reasoning that I think I would like to explain, at least give some context about Reddit and its rules and how it works and guidelines and not being clear, and the esports subreddits being different than other Reddit, and how the overall rules deal with the subreddits esports differently, and how these things are all related. Now we'll go into that discussion if people want to see more of the nitty gritty about this. But overall, I mean, I know the current standpoint of things, and I really do hope that people, more so than me, I want people to advocate for Reddit to domain ban non-gamers, and my account is banned. That can stay banned. That is okay. Give me the extra year of account ban on me. So if people were to do anything, it would be to just, I believe that non-gamers, the domain should not be banned. They should not have to go through this. I should be able to want to take it, especially now that I'm not at the site any longer.
Anything else?
What's coming up this weekend, man?
What the fuck is coming up this weekend, man? We've got WCS EU&A going on right now. We got the 4th of July Rooster Teeth Expo. I don't think there's anything esports happening there. I don't know.
Is there a little bit of a lull now? We've just
might be a little bit. Yeah, I mean TI4 coming up, obviously. Exciting.
I do have a second thing I would like to say.
Dota, yeah.
Before I go, I did interviews at MLG Anaheim. I have to say, Smash was extremely hype at the event. Very impressed by Smash. Call of Duty was huge, and the finals for Optic and EG were pretty magnificent. And it's really good to see StarCraft again at a major North American event. People were still in the stands, packed for those games. Scarlet's run was unbelievable in person. The crowd was loud. StarCraft was there. Blizzard was in attendance. I believe StarCraft really showed a lot at Anaheim. All 3 games really proved themselves, especially without League of Legends or Dota 2 being there. And you had other games, StarCraft, Smash, and Call of Duty, kind of like an interesting combination. I think they fared very well, especially along with Killer Instinct and Injustice. So Anaheim was great. But I wanted to say I did an interview with Prague at the end of Anaheim.
Yeah, good interview.
And it was, more so than issues that I am dealing with. I mean, that was a very emotional interview.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, honestly, it was fantastic. Everyone should go check it out.
Prague is, if you don't know, probably going to be stopping casting after EVO. He is a Smash caster for MLG and the one you saw at E3 because of health concerns, and he just can't physically do it anymore. And it was a very emotional interview that I had with him, and just hearing about him and Total Biscuit and how his updates have gone, I think we should all show a lot of love to those guys who I would say is more significant and issues more worth attentive to than anything to deal with me this past weekend. So, help out those guys that need work, and also give a lot of love to both Prague and Total Biscuit with their treatment.
Right on. I don't have much else to say, man. I will be I will be celebrating America Day on Friday. Probably be playing some Dota, some CS, some other good stuff. Reflex, maybe. Yeah.
Reflex?
Yeah.
Is that like a free to play? What is Reflex?
It's like a pre-alpha, dude.
For a deathmatch game?
Yep.
Right?
It is. It is. It's pretty good, dude. We'll talk about it more soon. We will.
Yeah, we'll see.
We will. All right, guys. Hey, thanks for joining us for Live on 3. I think that Scoots started this earlier, but maybe instead of your traditional hashtag fuck slasher, you would give him a hashtag hire slasher. Slasher, I still think you did great work. You have done amazing things for the esports community. Chin up, buddy.
Thank you, Wheat.
I know we all make mistakes. No one here in the Illuminati or not is definitely prone to not making mistakes. So life goes on, and I know that you'll kick ass again. So give a good old hire slasher for us this week. And with that being said, I don't have anything else. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Live on 3. We'll see you next week. Be safe on America Day. Be safe. Don't blow off your fingers. Hear me now? We'll see you next time on another episode of Live on 3. We're out of here. Peace. By the way, before I let you guys go, if anyone's still sticking around, I did just post my first ever game of CSGO on my YouTube. You can find that on youtube.com/DJWheat. and I hope that you'll enjoy it. An interesting mix of what happens when you know how to play the game, but you don't know how to control the game. Enjoy. We're out of here. Peace.